Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel for I Feel Strongly. The reason I call it I Feel Strongly is because there are certain things that I feel strongly about. So I made this channel so that I could talk about them, and today we are going to do that. Today we're going to talk about fake news. We're going to go into a new presidency pretty soon, and for a lot of you, this is your first time getting a new president. So welcome to that feeling. Doesn't always feel awesome. If you're younger than 16 or 18, you've literally never known a president that wasn't Obama. If you're 26 years old, then you've probably never seen a president that you could vote for other than Barry. There are some that call where we are now this post-truth or post-fact society. I find that to be asinine. Not just asinine in like a no, like that's stupid. The media doesn't tell you what to think. They tell you what to think about. You have to do the thinking. Humans fucking love fake news. We want to believe these tales because it speaks to our emotions, to our hopes, and to our fears. The new thing in terms of fake news versus real news is not fake news or post-fact. The new thing is facts. Objectivity is investigation. Those are the new things in terms of journalism. Verified information and truth, those aren't around for hundreds and hundreds of human years. In the 14th century, the Catholic Church used to take documents that they had made to lay claim to land throughout Europe. The document itself was actually fake. The church had faked it in order to get the land, which is one of the earliest examples of fake news. They found out when someone read the document, by the way, and it was supposedly set in the 4th century, but they weren't using 4th century Latin. They were using modern Latin, or modern at the time, using words that they would not have had in the 4th century. And once somebody got their hands on the document and were able to critically think about what was in it, the fake news completely fell apart. Because fake news cannot stand up to scrutiny. The key to beating fake news is just to keep your thinking cap on, to be critical about what you read every time you read something. We've always been in this exact same place. There's always been fake news. This is not a new concept. In 1475, a 2.5-year-old went missing from the town of Trent, Italy. At the time, there weren't that many newspapers or anything like that. There were definitely books and there were definitely literate people, but you spread your news through speech, through talking to others. And there was this preacher, a Franciscan preacher named Bernardino de Feltre. And he thought to use this platform of his to speak his mind about this 2.5-year-old's disappearance. What he told his congregation in Trent, Italy, was that Jews had stolen the kid, murdered him, and then drank his blood. That was a real thing. They drank it during Passover, by the way, because confusing holiday that I don't understand. The news spread like wildfire, obviously. You're in Italy and everybody's fears and suspicions were confirmed. There's not a lot of Jews in Italy in comparison to people of Catholic and Christian faiths. So these weird people that didn't follow the norms of the population were ostracized and called out by the majority and then blamed for this problem that no one was able to solve simply. After a time, the church tried to stop and shut down this guy, and instead he blew the story up even bigger, saying that the body of the kid had been found in the basement of a Jewish home. Of course, dead, and presumably bloodless, although I don't know if that was part of the detail. They wanted to believe this fake news. They wanted to believe this story because it fed into the fears and suspicions they already held. It's of course been debunked, and the church did everything they could to try and fight it. They even made the boy who went missing a saint and attributed like 1,000 miracles to him so that you couldn't say, oh, well, this boy was killed and eaten by Jews. Fake news is some serious shit. The reason it spreads is because it's crafted to spread. It's the early viral video, but you know, this is 1400, so there weren't that many videos going around. Facts are still facts. You can disagree with them, but they're still there. Sources are still things. Stories are still things. And fake news is a hilariously stupid concept. Another story from history. The Gutenberg printing press was invented in 1439. And not unlike the internet, this was the great democratizer. You could now spread information without being a king or a priest. Before the press, you had to make a book by hand and write it out. And that's why it was done by wealthy people, again, like kings and churches. Not to say that those books were always factual. That wasn't necessarily the goal of a book. It was supposed to spread knowledge, usually religious knowledge or knowledge of some kind of propaganda of the king or the emperor. In 1782, the colonies were near the end of the War for Independence. Peace negotiations were happening in England at the time, and at home, people were still conflicted. There were a lot of loyalists in Massachusetts. So, of course, that meant there were a lot of newspapers saying a lot of different things. On April 22nd, an issue of a newspaper in Boston called the Independent Chronicle came out detailing a story of over 700 American scalps, money, and goods were found in bags on their way to the King of England. The headline of this news story was "Scalps from Our Unhappy Country Folk." This is a real story. The Loyalists were obviously outraged. The Patriots were incensed. How could the king do such evil? If there was a Facebook, this would have spread everywhere. And yet, as you probably guessed, it was totally fake. Completely made up. In fact, the whole issue of the newspaper was fake. Guess who did it? Benjamin Franklin. He printed a fake issue of a real newspaper and got the details right, just down to the number of the issue, and he put fake ads in the newspaper for missing horses in Salem and land for sale in nearby Medford. You can read the newspaper. It's online. The National Archives have it. Really interesting stuff. Everything was there, and it was crafted to piss off the Patriots and shake the faith of the Loyalists during the peace negotiations with England. Fake news. It's crafted. It has a purpose. It wants you to feel a certain way. But remember what I said at the top. The media doesn't tell you what to think. They tell you what to think about. If something's telling you what to think or validating concerns and beliefs you already have, it's probably not the media. It's probably fake news. Once the Gutenberg press had been invented, anyone who could have access to a press could say anything they wanted. You might think, oh my gosh, we can finally say what we really mean. The things that started to spread were rumors that people believed, tall tales that people felt were true, things about witches and wives' tales and at-home cures and toxins and homeopathies and... Actually, that's just now. That's just now. Straight into modern there for a minute, sorry. Remember the early internet? Younger viewers, you probably don't. I remember the early internet. It was just filled with people's pages saying whatever they wanted about whatever they wanted. Ghosts and aliens and witches and, what I ate for lunch this afternoon and how my life has been, and an online diary of everything that we've ever done. I had a live journal. You probably did too. It's embarrassing to read it now, but that's okay. Just because you can say stuff doesn't mean you're going to say facts, truths, and verified information. You're probably just going to say whatever you know, right? The Franciscan preacher who I was talking about earlier was an anti-Semitic, loudmouth jerk, and he used his pulpit to bully. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. He loved fake news, but you also love fake news. Everyone goes to fake news stories when they want a laugh, or sometimes they're tricked into thinking they're real. The Onion is technically fake news. Clickhole, obviously, fake news. The Borowitz Report, fake news. They aren't all conservative. In fact, some of them are liberal, some of them are conservative. They run the gamut. In 1835, the New York Sun ran a 6-part series called The Great Astronomical Discoveries Lately Made, which detailed the supposed discovery of life on the moon. 1835. Obviously fake. 1874, the widely read New York Herald published more than 10,000 words on an escape of animals from the New York Central Park Zoo. They were rampaging through Manhattan, killing dozens of people. The Herald reported that many had escaped and were still at large. And of course, this was a fake news story as well, but people flooded the streets trying to escape Manhattan, and some people grabbed their rifles and headed into Central Park to try and hunt these wayward animals. To round out this first bit, my point about fake news, I think I've made pretty solidly. It comes in all colors. It's come from both the liberal side and the conservative side. It's loved and hated by moderates, liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, libertarians. Everybody loves and hates fake news. Anyone can spread it, and it can come from anywhere, but it always takes the same form. In 1807, Thomas Jefferson wrote, The man who never looks into a newspaper is better informed than he who reads them, inasmuch as he who knows nothing is nearer to the truth than he whose mind is filled with falsehoods and errors. This was a letter to a friend about fake news. This is in 1807. An American history lesson just for you really quick. Who was president in 1807? Thomas motherfucking Jefferson. That was the president of the United States writing a letter about fake news. Because it's not a new thing, you guys. Fake news has been around forever. He also said in that letter, "It is a melancholy truth that the suppression of the press could not more completely deprive the nation of its benefits." He hated fake news on one hand, but on the other hand, he recognized that the press needs to be free. They need to be able to do this, and the people need to be able to be told what was fake and what was real. Yes, the fake news is going to spread, but the real news needs to be out there. It's important for a functioning democracy. So yes, maybe we're in a post-truth society at this moment, in comparison to where we were 40 or 50 years ago. But that doesn't mean this is the first time we've been there. We just need to be smarter and savvier about the media that we're watching and reading. We need to stop pretending that this is new for our country. I know the media love a sensation, and if this is the first time we've ever been post-fact, then of course we need graphics and we need lightning going across the screen and with little, sirens and bullshit. But this isn't new. We've been here before. So to end this first part, just remember, the media doesn't tell you what to think, but what to think about. Fake news tells you what to think. The problem is you can't always spot fake news when it's right in front of your face. Sometimes you're reading it and you start feeling things and you don't know why. So in the next episode, I did some research and I'm going to talk to you about how to spot fake news. It's going to be really interesting. I learned a lot even just researching it. So please subscribe so you get that next video. Come back here for more I Feel Strongly. I am Trace Dominguez. You can come follow me on Twitter @Trace Dominguez. Again, please subscribe and thank you for watching my channel. We'll see you in a little bit.